Hello and welcome back to the Standard Super League. Marshall Sutcliffe, and I've got the kid, the O-Rat, Owen Turtenwald with me. Owen, welcome.
Hello.
It's nice to see you. I saw you just a few days ago at the World Championship, but here we are with much more important matters. We've got Standard Super League to go here. Sorry, I have to mute myself. I just had my own voice in my ear. What a horrific experiment that was. All right, so we're going to watch really two of the better players around. We saw Paul Rietzl in the World Championship as well as Brad Nelson, and they're both battling here. Let's take a look at deck lists here for both of these players, Owen. We've got kind of a weird one from Rietzl. He's playing red-white. I guess we're calling it prowess. What do you make of this deck, Owen?
Well, I played him a few weeks ago and he beat me senseless. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a fine deck. I'm not going to say that it's a tier one hyper competitive deck because I don't really think that it is. But it's very interesting and fun to watch and a cool deck. It's just a different take on the heroic strategy.
Okay, now his opponent is playing a little bit more of a known quantity. This is Brad Nelson playing green-white devotion. Let's take a look at that list here.
I
And
played him last week and I beat him. I guess it was 2 weeks ago.
And
But
what do you think of this deck? You know, this is a heavy green deck with a little bit of white here, and takes advantage of some of the abuses for Nykthos Shrine to Nyx.
I don't know a ton about this deck, but I do remember when people started to play it in Grand Prix, and then you'd see feature matches where both players are at 500 life.
Yeah, I remember that. Oh, that was brutal.
Yeah. So
The
I'm glad
first
that's not
weekend
happening.
it came out, and nobody really had a way to beat the mirror yet outside of Pelucranos for like 100 or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was brutal. So, what about the matchup itself, though? I mean, this is a much more mid-range deck here that Brad Nelson has. The prowess deck capable of piling on a bunch of damage, but it kind of has to do it through its creatures. How does it line up in your mind? You've played both of these decks before.
Um, well, the only ways that Brad has to interact look like Dromoka's Command and Valorous Stance, and he is not playing a deck where he can afford to leave up a lot of his mana in the early turns of the game because he's got the mana creatures and quite expensive threats, and he's hoping to curve out and beat down. And so, if Paul finds a window in the first 3, 4 turns of the game with a Teamer Battle Rage, he could deal tens upon tens of damage very quickly. Like
Yeah,
turn 4 kill is not at all out of the question.
and is that going to be the way that he's going to win this match here? Because looking at Brad's deck here, he does have stuff in the early to mid part of the game. We see the three core sort of crew fix, the Death Mist Raptors, even the Den Protectors, and he can even play a Pelucranos, on turn three and just sort of slam down a whole bunch of huge beefy walls. And even if the game goes longer, he's got Master of the Unseen, and I assume if he starts to flip up basically anything from that, the game's going to be over in short order. So, he knows what he's playing against here. What's the game plan from his side to not let Paul beat him?
Well, if I was Brad, the best chance of winning for me would be to. Well, the best chance for Paul to win is to use Teamer Battle Rage to deal a ton of damage right away.
Mm-hmm.
Just get a lucky win in the early turns of the game. Or to use God's Willing to give protection from green, because all of his creatures are green. So it's going to be important for Brad to maintain a couple of Manifest or Morph creatures that are going to block, regardless of the fact of if Paul can make a pro green creature.
I see.
So
So if Brad can hit like a Whisperwood Elemental, then that manifest could be really important.
his priorities are number one, not die. Number two, preserve a board state in which he can make it so that Paul can't win in the later game.
Okay. Yeah, this looks like it'll be kind of a fun matchup. These decks seem to be about one step apart as far as speed goes. Where Paul's is certainly a notch quicker, but Brad's isn't that far behind. This is far from a control deck that Brad's brought to the table here, so he's going to be right there on the board. What are the cards that what are the cards that Paul really, or excuse me, that Brad? No. What are the cards that Paul really doesn't want to see from Brad?
Um,
Like, is Courser a big deal here? Deathmist Raptor? What are the really nasty ones from Paul's perspective?
Honestly, it doesn't look like any of Brad's individual cards are all that frightening. It's just going to be about setting up a critical mass. Like if Brad triggers Mastery of the Unseen, he's almost certainly going to win. Just
Okay.
getting 6 or 8 life out of one card, one use, it's going to be enough to prolong the game where he can do it a couple more times. And yeah, that's about it.
All right. Which side of the equation do you like better?
I like Paul's deck. It's just really more fun and flashy, and And when he wins, it's going to be a turn 3, turn 4 kill, and that's what I'm here to see.
All right, so let's see if it happens. We're head down to the feature match area here where we've got, again, Paul Rietzl versus Brad Nelson. Looks like we've got a little typo there on the deck list for Brad. He's actually on green-white devotion. As you can see from his starting hand, looks pretty good here. He's got, a pair of lands, and I see a Sylvan Caryatid in there too.
Yeah, a fine hand. Not great. He's truly just looking for Elvish Mystic and no other card. But I was groaning and wincing at Paul's hand, which is 5 lands, up like Temur Battle Rage.
Yeah, his hand does not look amazing. No, this does set him up to maybe draw a few spells in a row, which he keeps doing here.
Oh yeah, and I don't hate the keep because he does have all of the cards that I talked about being important. So
yeah, picks up a feat of resistance here as well, adding to his board. But here we go. 4 mana available on the 3rd turn for Brad Nelson, and he can just kind of do what he wants here. Deathmist Raptor. He can play another Sylvan Caryatid, plus play a Master of the Unseen, and it looks like that's what he's going to do here.
yeah,
You mentioned it, Owen. If Brad starts turning up creatures off of Master of the Unseen, this thing, Paul's deck just doesn't have the reach to finish him off.
wow, another spell and a great spell.
Wow, these are some good draws here for Rietzl.
Yeah. He might just have lethal next turn.
Wow. So he's got Nelson down to 19 here. And he is rumbling. Look at this Titan strength right now. So that puts him down to 13. He still has Temur Battle Rage in his hand, plus 2 other protection/pump spells.
Yeah.
Is he another pump spell away from actually winning next turn?
I have not done the math, but I have to imagine if he hits another Titan Strength, he's going to win.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
I mean, his creature's going to have 3, 4, 7, 8 power double strike. That's 16 damage. Yeah, that's just crazy.
And also we'll have protection from green. So it looks like Deathmist Raptor is the play here from Brad Nelson. And another Mastery.
If I'm Paul, I'm slamming God's Willing on my upkeep and naming green and just hoping.
Yeah.
He can also use red lands to just pump with the Dragon Mantle. So his creature has 3 power. God's Willing is going to give it 4 power. Tapping a red is going to give it 5. Temur Battle Rage is 6 and double strike. It looks like he's only a point short.
Now this is interesting. It looks like he's done it on Brad's turn, I guess because he already has the Feat of Resistance in his hand. Yeah, he gets to keep a counter on his creature this way. Is this enough? Here's the feat.
Oh yeah, this is lethal. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's done it.
Yeah, he's gonna do it. He's gonna hit him for 14, right?
Yeah, I forgot that the feat would trigger heroic and put a counter.
Yeah.
All that.
Wow. So Paul Rietzl just assembles the combo. The turn before Brad was going to go Den Protector, unflip, gain like 8 or whatever, and kind of seal the deal. So Paul Rietzl stealing one there. He had it in mind the whole time. And you saw that line early as well. And you mentioned before the game, Owen, that was one of the ways that Paul's going to win. And yeah, he pulled it off. That was pretty great.
I looked in the little bottom corner of Magic Online where you can see the user's name and what turn it was. Turn 4, Little Darwin.
That was pretty gross. It was interesting there. I mean, if Brad doesn't die that turn, he gets to untap and kind of have the world at his fingertips gain a bunch of life and kind of value out. He did have the option to play the Den Protector face down that turn instead of the Deathmist Raptor, which would give him a colorless creature, which I thought was an interesting choice from him as... that was one of the ways you could lose that game, right? Is getting nailed by some protection from whatever spell. Though I figure Brad probably knew the jig was up when he when Paul went for the +1/+1 counter on Brad's turn.
On Brad's 3rd turn, he was at 19 when he could have played a face-up Deathmist Raptor. But it was problematic because the creature was favored Hoplite, which, even if targeted with a Defiant Strike, can't take damage. No damage means no death touch. So, really easy for him to get past the Deathmist Raptor there.
All right, let's head back down. As we've got our players lining up their next hand, I do believe that Brad is taking a mulligan here.
Yeah, and I saw Erishan Cleric in his hand, his first hand, which I'm
Okay.
not sure how I feel about in the matchup. 3 life is a pretty small buffer when you're getting attacked for 7 and then 18. Cheap blocker's not too bad though.
Is that a rogue's passage on the side? Oh, okay.
It's censored for the for
Rouge's passage
it's too
redacted.
graphic for the viewers. We had to turn it down.
So it looks like Brad played his Temple of Plenty, saw a Sylvan Caryatid on top, decided to keep it since he knew he could cast it the next turn either way, and has done that. Now, Rietzl with the Temple of Triumph on turn 1 means that he has no 1-drop to play on turn 1, so he's going to have to wait till turn 2 to get this hoplite onto the battlefield.
His hand is slow, but he is happy because it looked like he kept a 1-lander on the draw and seems to have fun there.
Yeah, his hand looks pretty nice now too. Look at the combo finishes he has available.
What do you think the percentage chances that Brad activates Rogue's Passage in this game?
It's like 5.
It can't be very often in this
Yeah.
match.
5 may be generous as well. All right, well, Pelukrinos on turn 3. This did work out for Brad. He had a little bit, he had to hit a land or a accelerator. I guess he already had that Mystic either way. So he gets the turn 3 Pelukrinos here either way, but the favorite hoplite, no fear whatsoever.
No. Oh, is he still thinking? I want him to block so bad because double Ajani's presence would just kill the Pelukrinos.
He's actually going to go for Artful Maneuver here.
Dude, I lost to that card when I played Paul. I looked at the deck list. I saw 1 Feat of Resistance, 1 Center Soul, 1 Artful Maneuver, and I laughed to myself that his deck was just silly. And then he played it, and I was like, holy crap, that's just so much damage.
Yeah, and it's actually going to represent a lot of damage next turn as well, especially, man, if Paul can find a land, he can Temur Battle Rage plus Ajani's Presence, and he'll get the Artful as well. That's a lot of damage.
It looks like it's going to be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 16 damage.
Well, coincidentally,
yeah.
Brad Nelson sitting at 16 life.
Yeah, if Paul draws a land and all that goes without a hitch, then he's gonna have to block or he's dead.
Which it looks like it will if he does draw an untapped land here.
It's not even that big of a difference if he doesn't draw a land because the Ajani's Presence only gives 2 counters.
Now he drew Defiant Strike.
Well, just as is, Temur Battle Rage can do, what is this, 5, 6, 12 damage? That's still very good. 12 damage this turn and another Temur Battle Rage next turn, and
this has to be the scariest deck to play against. Are you just live in fear the whole time of like he could just have any number of combat tricks?
Yeah.
It looks like Brad's gonna gamble here and just chump block with an elf. But he is gonna taste it because this is a lot of damage here.
Oh man.
Down to 5 with the block included, and yeah, this is a big turn here for Brad.
Ooh.
Well, he's going to go for Whisperwood Elemental. Does he attack with Pelukrinos?
Do you just block the favorite hoplite with every creature that you have?
I guess.
And just hope that you don't die?
That's what I'm wondering. Like, can you really afford to attack? He can put 8 toughness on even with an attack from Pelukrinos. He can bump it up to 13 if he wants to go full Monty here, but...
This is nuts.
Oh, interesting.
Well, Brad decides that if he does not die, he's going to win the race.
Yeah.
And he's just sitting there hoping that he does not die. Luckily for him, on the next turn, there's not an Artful Maneuver coming back like on the last turn.
Right.
So this block is going to be a little bit safer.
So down to 8.
Still seems like Paul's going to win.
It does feel like that, especially with a land. Oh, he found a Dragon Mantle.
So 4, 5, 10. Yeah, he's a point short. If Brad double blocks, then Paul's going to be 1 point of damage short. It looks like
what if
Strike and gamble?
Yeah, that he can hit a land because Defiant Strike gets him basically 2 power, right?
Yep.
If he can hit an untapped land, then he can still play the Temur Battle Rage here.
Yep.
Ooh.
I get, no, yeah, because of the existence of the Pelucranos, Paul's options for blocking are poor, and his options for, it's only 7 damage, but because of the monstrous, it's going to be enough.
Right.
Paul, I'm going to cast Defiant Strike and cross my fingers.
As we see the Defiant Strike highlighted.
It's a great play. And he hits the land.
And he hit the land.
The screen is frozen, but I can see the card in Paul's hand going fast.
I do too. Oh no, this is like the worst timing. He certainly got there. I also saw the Teamer Battle Rage highlighted, so I'm gonna book that one for Rietzl until proven otherwise. But we'll just wait for a second. I think maybe the players might be waiting for us, which is kind of a savage slow roll for Brad if it is the case. But so it goes.
No, that was marvelously played by Paul. He found lethal in the conventional ways both times.
All right, and yeah, we do have confirmation. So Paul F6'd and Brad conceded. He got there. So wow, Paul Rietzl in 2 quick games takes down Brad Nelson, who, to be fair to Brad, on both games was ready to untap and either win or make a play that would effectively win him the game. But Rietzl's deck just barely shut the door on him both times, which is that's what he came to do with that type of deck.
Teamer Battle Rage, I affectionately call it TBR, because I would sit around at home drafting decks where I would only take Teamer Battle Rages and big green creatures and try to kill people on turn 5.
Yeah, I remember that in Limited. When I first read that card, I wasn't that impressed by it. I thought, it doesn't add to the power of the creature, and it's a little like I like the combat tricks that kind of let me maybe block and have my creature survive, even if it's just, +1/+1 or something like that. And so I was a little down on it. And then there was the GP, I think it was the team GP maybe in San Jose the next weekend. And that thing was just tearing everybody up in the sealed. And I was like, whoa, maybe I represented this card. And I certainly did. That card ended up being fantastic.
I actually had the exact same reaction when I read it for the first time. I thought it wasn't that good. And then I played against someone round 1 of that Pro Tour, and they flipped a Canyon Lurkers and cast a Teamer Battle Rage. And then they cast a Teamer Battle Rage, and I was dead.
You're just dead. Yeah. Yeah. That was crazy. Let's see here. Yeah, they already gave GG, so that will do it for this round. I guess. So why don't we take a quick break here from the Standard Super League? Owen, thanks for doing commentary. I hope we get to do commentary again someday, and maybe even for a little longer. That was a pretty quick match.
Maybe we can watch a match that doesn't last 7 total turns.
Yeah. But that'll do it for now. So we'll see you guys in just a few minutes. We'll be back right after these messages.